Hi everyone, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me today. Haven't done an update what's going on there on the islands of Hawaii, Maui. The death counts continue to grow, and they're gonna continue to grow. It's so heartbreaking. Now with the latest weather system that the National Weather Service is closely watching is Tropical Storm Greg. The storm should pass south of Hawaii in the coming days with little consequences. Boy, I pray that it does. Unlike Hurricane Dora's passage, which was met with very strong high-pressure system to its north, there shouldn't be any significant uptick in trade winds around the Aloha state. They're saying the next storm, which could be of consequence, is Hurricane Fernanda. Once a major hurricane, Fernanda is now at 90 miles an hour and is expected to weaken further as it moves west to Hawaii. While it isn't expected to hit the islands as a tropical cyclone, its remnant moisture is, with the possibility of soaking rains, possible as soon as Sunday or Monday. Rains could help relieve drought conditions in Hawaii and saturate plant matter to reduce the fire risk. But the heavy rains could also hamper recovery operations on Maui, which will last many months, if not longer. The fire was hot enough to burn metal. Many of the bodies have turned to ash.
Baby, don't touch it, baby, don't touch it.
How about the important passports and all that?
When the bodies, I'm sorry, this is pretty graphic, when they try to pick up the bodies, yeah, they literally fall apart like being in a crematorium. So with coming heavy rains, yeah, that's gonna make recovery and identification of bodies much harder. Sometimes the only time they know if it's an adult or a child is because of the size of the body. The last I heard, 48 DNA samples had been sent in to identify the bodies. Here's the latest update from NOAA for Tropical Storm Greg. This was as of 5 a.m. Hawaii time. Maximum sustained winds are at 50 miles an hour, but there is gusts that are higher. Here's the latest for Fernanda. It says as of 5 a.m. Maximum sustained winds are at 65 miles an hour. Movement west at 15 miles an hour. There was a lot of things they could have done to protect Lahaina from its deadly fires. For one, the pumping water stations for the fire hydrants were hooked up to electricity. I do not think, I could be wrong, they didn't have any backup generators. So when the power went out, along with emergency services that were connected to the cell phone towers, the sirens, the phones, those systems all went down. You would think with all the millions of dollars that the businesses were bringing in, the corporations, the hotels, restaurants, that there would have been some sort of tax to build a more secure emergency system. Last I heard, the death toll was 103, but there's a lack of communication when they do find bodies, and to place the numbers. They keep putting off getting us updated numbers, saying they want to do it slow but right. I have two videos for you. The first one is going to be Governor Josh Green wanting to make clear how his words were taken out of content.
What is also of fundamental importance to us is protecting the land for our local people. Some people took out of context a comment I made a day or two ago about purchasing land. That is to protect it for our local people so that it's not stolen by people on the mainland. So I've asked my Attorney General to watch for predatory practices And we will be embedding attorneys who are going to work pro bono for our people, Maui attorneys for Maui's people, to be at our joint response centers available to all of us. So if people have someone reach out to them to try to get their land, we will be able to get expert legal advice so that doesn't happen. If someone behaves in a predatory fashion towards one of the people that are suffering right now, who have lost their loved ones or lost their home, lost their rental, and they try to buy land out from under them, you can be sure I will not be allowing anyone to build or rezone or do anything of that sort if they've taken advantage of anyone here. Rebuilding will be for our local people. We'll work with the world, and we so appreciate the incredible generosity. That generosity demonstrates that most, 99.999% of everyone who has watched these telecasts and this crisis unfold wants to support and love the people of Maui and Hawaii. But it's my job to look out for those who might take advantage. And that's why I make that comment specifically about protecting the.
At one of the meetings, he said, I am already thinking of ways for the state to acquire that land so we can put it into a workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make open spaces a perpetuity as a memorial for the people who were lost.
About preserving Lahaina moving forward.
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost. We want this to be something that we remember after the pain passes.
Evidently, under Hawaiian law, they can just take the land from the people under eminent domain. And he went on to say, we want this to be something we remember after the pain passes as a magic place. Lahaina will be rebuilt. The tragedy right now is the loss of life. The building can be rebuilt over time. Even the banyan tree may survive. But we don't want this to become a clear space where then people come from overseas just to come and decide they're going to take it. The state will take it and preserve it first. You got that? He says the state's going to take it and preserve it first. Green expressed concerns over foreign investors exploiting the disaster. In another briefing, Green reinforced his dedication to safeguarding the lands for locals. He shared that he discussed with the Hawaiian Attorney General about options to do a memorial on any sales of property that have been damaged or destroyed. It's going to be a very long time before any growth or housing can be built. Yeah, they only have really one road to bring in supplies.
Anybody on social media, we need to get some of this stuff out to the people in Lahaina. If you can't post it, come out here and tell your friends.
To where, Matt?
To Kahana Boat Ramp, to Lumlum Estates. And ask anybody if you don't know. It's pretty easy to find. You have to go around because the bridge is out. So you have to go around the people market and come down this way.
So I come from the north side.
And it's a one-way, so mind you, it's going to be a little congested, but we're here, man. We got so much stuff. And, yeah, people need it, man. The stuff you guys are bringing, it's unreal. Thanks. They're going to need it.
Yeah, Russ. You guys want more propane? Huh? There's something generator.
Unless it comes in from the ocean. And right now, people have formed groups together to bring things in by boat or jet skis. And now they're saying that the air is so toxic, they're requesting air masks, gas masks. He went on to say that I will try to allow no one from the outside, doesn't give guarantees. I will try to allow no one from the outside our state to buy any land until we get through this crisis and decide what Lahanians should be in the future.
We're collecting food, clothes.
Are you okay, Doctor?
Yeah. It's just you think of the people that were hurt. Yesterday we got a man who went into Lahaina and found his son and his dog dead, 15-year-old.
That's the story I told you where we were giving him food.
And that's a man that just, I can't believe his eyes. And he just came up here and he wanted food. And I rallied around him, and everybody came together and hugged him, and we gave him so much food and so many things. We were holding off on giving some stoves out just to keep it here so we can cook for everybody.
Yeah.
But we gave that up because we felt that like that would make it better. I don't know. It was so sad. It's so sad for him.
The tree actually coming in through our bedroom window, and the winds were so bad the metal sheeting on the property vacation rentals that were next to us was coming off, and it was like flying around, like big huge chunks of metal sheeting, and it was landing on the cars below. Shortly after that, we saw some tourists get in their car, and they were packing up all their stuff, and I was like, babe, I said, look, they're bailing, they're getting ready to leave. And I looked up and I saw the smoke and the fire like from on the other side of the vacation rentals. And so we had no time to grab our 2 cats, our dog. I sent my daughter to go grab some things from her room. We grabbed our important papers, and I got in my car. My mother-in-law followed me, and my husband was behind, so all 3 of us. We couldn't, when we pulled out, because we lived on Waianae Street, and we couldn't go right because the power lines were down right there in front of the Sacred Hearts Church, so the power lines were down, so we couldn't, the road was inaccessible. So we were pushed left, so we took left, and we ended up towards Shaw Street, and we went up to the highway, but at that point, there was bumper-to-bumper traffic on the highway. Like, the cars, like, they weren't moving, it was gridlocked, we couldn't go anywhere. And at that point, like, we looked back, and the smoke and the flames were engulfing cars, probably about 6 car lengths behind us. From that way, and we couldn't go, and my husband just jumps out and he taps on my window and he's like, if the smoke and the flames come any faster, like, we just need to jump the median, and we need to go on the wrong lane of traffic, and we need to get out of here, we need to go. I looked down at my car, my gas light was on, I had 30 miles worth of gas, and there's no gas stations from that point. Dickinson at the Aloha Gas is the last gas station all the way until you get to Ma'alaya. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to drive my car until the wheels fall off, basically. And so by the grace of God, I got all the way over to Ma'alaya. I had 7 miles of gas left in my car. I filled up my gas tank, and I went inside, and when I went inside, one of the workers was on the phone with the manager, and the manager was telling her that she needed to shut off the gas, that he was going to turn off all the pumps, and he wasn't going to let anybody else get any more gas. And that, like, it was, the traffic on Ma'alaya was backed up. They weren't letting any more people, Lahaina bound traffic, they had already stopped it, so they weren't letting anybody come in. And the Ma'alaya, like, the whole road was just backed up for miles and miles. And so after we filled up gas, we decided to go meet over at Walmart. And so we ended up at the Walmart parking lot, just trying to grab our bearings. We needed to grab leashes for our dogs. We needed to grab a litter box. We needed to get cat food. We didn't have a toothbrush. We just kind of figured out what we needed to get at that point and just reconvened. Damage to the house, but I was really concerned about the tree actually coming in through our bedroom window, and the winds were so bad the metal sheeting on Ma'alaya was backed up. They weren't letting any more people Lahaina Walmart, and so we ended up at the Walmart parking lot, just trying to grab our bearings. We needed to grab leashes for our dogs. We needed to grab a litter box. We needed to get cat food. We didn't have a toothbrush. We just kind of figured out what we needed to get at that point and just reconvened.
Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly the reason they canceled the place card thing they were doing to give out emergency supplies was that there was tourists who were getting in line to accept the things that were being given to the people who have lost everything. There's also a report on Civil Beat. Now that's there in Hawaii. They said that they had received a report from a whistleblower stating that what you're not hearing from our local government, they just got out of a meeting where they were informed by someone in the mayor's office about developments that are being kept from the public. The amount of fatalities is expected to be more than 500, but less than 1,000. Many of the fatalities will be children who are at home because they canceled school because of the high winds from Hurricane or Tropical Storm Dora. People were saying that the high winds was actually blowing the metal off of their roofs. Parents were at work and were not able to evacuate the children. The kids had no idea they needed to leave, and by the time they noticed their home or apartment were on fire, it was too late. According to this whistleblower, government is worried about how people will react when they learn that the fire department left the fire earlier in the day and claimed it was 100% contained, knowing that the winds were expected to be 90 miles an hour. Evidently, the first fire they thought they had put out, and they left, and then the winds reignited the fire from hot embers that were still burning. There was another report, I'll play that video for you, from a local named Fish. He seen the fire coming. It started about 3:30 in the afternoon, and at 4 o'clock he was down on First Street, the main street, and then along the road along the coast, and he noticed that the traffic wasn't moving, and supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a police officer or several police officers that were not allowing people to move the cars, to evacuate.
Can you tell your story, man? You got time? You feeling all right? Or
Yeah.
I know it's middle of the day and it's hot.
Yeah. Well, I went to Safeway late because the wind was blowing, so I knew I wouldn't be able to leave that night. And electricity was off. And so it took me about an hour and a half.
A little louder because of the wind. Just a little louder, Fish.
It took me about an hour and a half to just get some orange juice. And so it was about 4 o'clock, and I went out and I saw the fire, and it was, you couldn't even see the gateway because it was covered with smoke. And everyone's standing around just looking. And I said, I think we should get out of here because of the speed of this wind. It could be here in 2 minutes. And
So about what time was this at, Fish? By the way, if you guys don't know who this is Fish. He's been sitting next to Cheeseburger in Paradise selling the most awesome stuffs, right, for years. He's like a legend, and everyone loves Fish, and Fish loves everybody. But he's one of the wisest people that I know.
Oh.
He's not homeless; he's houseless by choice, by the way. Anyway, Fish, continue.
So I went around back to Front Street, and all the cars were lined up, but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way from Safeway to the Chart House. Not one car had moved, and I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And so I just kept walking. Well, maybe he knows something I don't, you know. So, and I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police at the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Like where the restaurant is?
Right, where the Chart House
Where the Chart House was, I should say. There was a blockade there, and they could not go any further.
Right, I walked.
What the hell?
I walked all the way from Safeway to there. Not one car had moved, and people walking in front of me. The people in the cars are saying, "Would you like a ride?" And they go, "Oh, okay." And they'd get in. They asked me, I go, "No, you better get out of here." You know, but they just, well, we were told to evacuate by car. Okay, so I just kept walking, and I got all the way to, like I said, the Civic Center, and then I started hearing all the explosions, and there was no one walking behind me or on bicycles or anything. And I just...
Dude, that is unbelievable.
I had no idea, you know, until the next day when I walked down there of what had happened. I just, oh my...
So did you go up north to your place?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just hunkered down for the night?
Yeah.
And then you came down to Front Street, or the fire? Because I know the fire burned right above your place. Did it get close to you?
It got to the Civic Center, right where the tennis courts are at, all around through there, and that's where they stopped it.
Wow.
There was one family of 4 found burned to death in their car. 2 grandparents, a daughter, and then the daughter's child was, they found their bodies in the car when the fire overtook the cars that were trying to evacuate. I had also mentioned in my last report about the senior care center that burst into flames, according to one of the people that was evacuating. during the fire. Well, evidently there was a few residents of the different care centers, that tragically died. Many of the survivors talked about how they were not able to help other people. It was every person for themselves at the time of the fire. The one complex evidently housed 34 seniors ages between 78 and 79 years old. Civil Beat's got an article about that. I'll give you a link to it. At least one family has been notified that one of their loved one's body has been found there. So here's another image of that area. And this is an image of it, a satellite image before the fire. And another Twitter post showing the elderly center that was burned up. And then, even though the tourists have been asked to leave the island, many of them haven't. There's been complaints from locals of tourists snorkeling and swimming and playing in the waters where people actually died this last week. How insensitive they've been. And then I have a ending video for you. Yeah, they're taking resources away from people that need help desperately.
You know, I always come to the beach to reset. That's my healing process when I need to reset in life. And today, it's a different experience to come. And I'm sitting here and I see all these tourists pull up. And usually it doesn't bother me that much. But today I'm angry. And I shouldn't be angry because these people have nothing to do with what's happening. But the idea of what the government and what is happening to our people, it just overcomes me and I'm fucking pissed. If you're not Hawaiian, or if you are not a local and you are not familiar with anyone from these islands, then you will not understand our connection and the community that we have as a people. It isn't only about the devastation of life, it's about the destruction to the Hawaiian people, its land, and its culture. The local people who have made the most effort for each other in this time of survival. And then you have people like FEMA and Red Cross coming in, trying to take over what the locals are doing. And we still have places where people are still in need of basic shit like water, food, medical supplies. We're of all the conspiracy theories and you hope for it not to be real. But it's pretty fucking hard to not see that there is some sort of agenda going on. You hear the stories of the survivors and what they seen and what they heard, and over again, it's the same thing. There was no warning. There was no 911. Now we're hearing there wasn't even water in the fire hydrants when the fires broke out for the fire department to even do anything. You see the survivors speaking out. You watch the videos. You hear the stories. Like, I cannot even imagine the trauma that people went through, yet they're not even able to start healing without people already coming in and trying to fucking buy the land. On top of that, there's still people missing. It's been 6 days. Yes, I get it. It's like a huge crime scene. But I'm also seeing people still finding their loved ones. It's just that there's no communication. How is there no communication? We do not live in a third world country. We are citizens of the United States. We fucking pay taxes. How is it that we live on an island and we cannot connect people? We're connecting people through social media, through local people connecting each other, but the government can't fucking help people connect? The thing that upsets me most about this ordeal is the misinformation or the misleading information of what is being put out on the media. And out of the respect for parents, the parents who were affected, I'm not going to go into detail, but the kids didn't have school that day. The children were home from school. Not only are people having to deal with the trauma having to deal with the loss of their loved ones. Now they're having to deal with if they'll even get their property back, and the process and how long it'll take to rebuild the community. You will hear about FEMA and how people are talking about how FEMA can take their property. I'm not going to touch too much on that besides to say, go and read the Stafford Act. Personally, in my opinion, the power is in money. And I feel that the government is just going to hold it off long enough that the local people will not have time to wait. They will not have time to wait. Think about it. They literally left with what they had on. They have nothing, zero. They are starting from zero to rebuild their lives. How much time is it going to take? How long will it take for them to get their property back? It's the government that's going to come in. It's the investors that's going to come in. It's the people with money that are going to come in and try to buy out the people, buy out the locals, buy out the Hawaiians from their land. Encourage the people to hang on to their properties, especially Hawaiians. But it's understandable that in order to survive, it takes money and it takes power. And that's what we need to bring awareness to the people that actually have power and actually have money to help our people. It kills me that as a Hawaiian, we are now 130 years later and still fighting for our people and for our land. It is time for the Hawaiian people to stand up and unite as one. Please continue to send your healing energies to all those that were affected by the Maui fire, and continue to pray for the people of Hawaii and the indigenous people to this land.
Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. As always, be prepared for a disaster. This is just another example how city officials were not prepared. They didn't have any backup plans for emergency services in a disaster such as this. Yeah, you can't depend on the government or city officials to help you. Always be prepared. Do what you can on your own. Have a plan. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.